that he's not talking, but it's because he's muted. Oh, what happened? There he is.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Mark. Take it away.
Oh, I'm up. Okay, very good.
Yes.
Forgive me for my tardiness. Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here and thank you for the invitation. I was asked to provide a brief update on what's happening and happened during our legislative session and looking forward, and I'll do my best to compress this into a brief report. Wanted to share with you a couple of things that many of our ports are facing right now. It's one of our biggest challenges. Is that ports in Oregon are facing significant changes to the National Flood Insurance Program that are being forced on the Federal Emergency Management Agency by the National Marine Fisheries Service. The National Flood Insurance Program has been found to cause jeopardy on listed species in Oregon, and as a result, FEMA is being forced to modify the NFIP in a very dramatic manner that will effectively require that any man-made disturbances within the special flood hazard zone to result in no net loss of flood storage capacity. These changes impact 31 of Oregon's 36 counties, and it will impact every single port in the state. The proposed implementation of these requirements will be extraordinarily expensive for ports who are more often than not water-dependent entities and have properties within the special flood hazard zone. The result could be making routine maintenance of port-related infrastructure too expensive due to mitigation requirements. It could also prevent ports from developing properties to attract new businesses and industries. At this time, the Oregon Public Ports Association is a member of a group called Oregonians for Floodplain Protection, and that group is in active litigation at the moment with NIMS on this matter. And we don't have any expectation that we'll get an answer soon, but we are litigating on this matter, and it is a federal matter. Another significant challenge that many of our ports are facing, and I understand the Port of Columbia County has also been faced with this challenge, is the cost of dredging, particularly non-federal channels and marinas. Over the last 5 years or so, we've seen the cost of dredging and disposal increase 200 to 300% in some cases. Furthermore, regulatory issues from the state agencies have resulted in shorter in-water work windows, denials of piggybacking with the Corps when they conduct routine maintenance of the federal channels, thereby making it even more expensive. Obviously, infrastructure is a major challenge for all ports. Many of our ports are struggling with the cost of routine maintenance of docks, wharves, piers, seawalls, and the occasional wayward tugboat that may strike a dock, not it to pick on anybody in particular. All this is to say that many of our ports are struggling to maintain their existing infrastructure, let alone trying to pursue new projects and developments. Oregon's ports are facing a long-term funding crisis. Maintaining existing infrastructure in some cases is beginning to approach annual operational budgets of some of these ports. And without some assistance, either from the state or revenue reform, the long-term viability of some ports may be in doubt. What I thought I would do now is provide a couple of opportunities that are available to ports. In particular, the Connect Oregon program around the beginning of the next year. A new round of competitive applications will be accepted by the Oregon Department of Transportation. There will be about $75 million available for this competitive round, which is approximately 25 million more than the previous two rounds of Connect. Public ports have been highly successful over the years with this program, In total, the program has awarded over $500 million to 240 projects. This, as I mentioned, is a higher amount than the previous two rounds. Ports in Oregon are going to need assistance either from the state or with direct funding, allowing ports to generate more revenue for themselves in order to ensure their long-term viability. That's another item that we are looking into. As you know, you produce an awful lot of property tax, yet the statute limits ports to receiving only 1/4 of 1% of property tax revenue. And of course, the state, the counties, the cities all benefit tremendously from the work that you do, either through the income tax or property taxes. So, in order to address long-term viability of some of our ports, we're beginning to think about new avenues to help our ports maintain their existing infrastructure. I have some sort of good news and bad news as well. I suppose I'll talk about the transportation package, and then I'm going to go to the overall budget, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. As you may or may not know, earlier, I should say last month, the Oregon legislature met in a special session for most of part of a month, and ultimately passed a transportation funding package that will raise Oregon's 40-cent gas tax by 6 cents. It will also increase registration fees by $42, increase title fees by $139, and implement a new $30 fee for electric vehicle users, and double the state's 0.1% payroll tax for transit. The payroll tax, importantly, will sunset at the beginning of 2028. So that will force the Legislative Assembly to make a decision in the short term as to whether or not they will extend that 0.1% tax further along. The governor signed the bill last Friday, and it is expected that there will be an attempt to refer the funding package to the voters. Opponents of the package will need to submit 78,000 valid signatures in about 50 days or by December 30th. They will need well over 100,000 signatures, though, to meet the 78,000 threshold because, of course, each one of those signatures has to be a registered voter, and obviously not everybody who signs a petition is registered, and the math is generally that you want 25% more than the needed amount in order to qualify. So we're talking well over, about 110 to 115,000 signatures they'll need in order to get that referred to the ballot, and that wouldn't go to the ballot until November of 26. In overall, the bill is expected to raise about $4.3 billion over the next 10 years, and that money will be used primarily for basic maintenance and safety. It's not to expand any type of highway system. It's simply to maintain the existing system and to continue the operation of 12 maintenance stations across the state. Had this bill not passed, the Department of Transportation would have lost approximately 480 people last year, an additional probably 200 to 300 at the beginning of 2026. Furthermore, those 12 maintenance stations would have been forced to close, and many of those maintenance stations conduct plowing, graveling, that kind of thing. So our transportation system would have been significantly impacted, particularly during the winter months, had this package not passed. But again, that is going to be actively opposed by a group, and again, they are now beginning to collect signatures. And I'm going to kind of end here on somewhat of a ominous note. I wanted to give you all a quick update on the state's budget. When we concluded the legislative session on June, I believe it was 27th at 11:15 p.m., um, the state had about $515 million of quote unquote excess revenue, revenue that they were going to hold in the event of any emergencies, for example, wildfire fighting, things of that nature. And it's typical that the state will put money in the piggy bank in order to address emerging issues as the biennium continues. I should note that the overall general fund budget was about 39 million or $39 billion. So that $500 million is a significant amount, but it's frankly not a whole lot of money. Well, fast forward to a couple months ago, as you know, Congress passed HR 1. That was, and I'll let you fill in the blank. That was the big blank bill that our president had been trumpeting quite a bit. The minute he signed that bill, um, Oregon went from 500 million, well, $515 million in the black to now $373 million deficit. Why is that? Well, Oregon's taxes are based and intricately linked with the federal tax code. And so when the federal government, for example, exempted tips and other types of taxation on income, that automatically modified Oregon's tax code to provide the same benefits. And as a result, we had about an $850 million swing in the projected revenues for the state. And so we are now facing, as I said, a $373 million deficit that will require cuts. And the co-chairs of the Ways and Means Committee have announced that they will be seeking in actuality about $915 million in cuts to the current budget. And much of that work will be done during the short session that will begin in February. And with that, Mr. Salisbury, I don't know if there was anything else that you would like me to cover, but I thought that that would give everybody a decent idea, at least from a 30,000 foot perspective, as to what's going on. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. Thank you.
Mark, I think they do have a couple of questions, but could you also give a brief recap on recreational immunity?
Of course. Thank you for that question, Bob, because that was one of SDAO's top priorities. As some of you may know, back in 2023, a case emerged out of Newport whereby a couple of women were walking their dogs on an improved trail, uh, walking their dogs to recreate on the beach. During this stroll to the beach on this improved trail owned by the city and maintained by the city, one of the women slipped, fell, broke her leg, and ultimately sued the city for negligence. Now, to make a long story short, the city argued that they were immune from liability because of recreational immunity. However, this woman and their very creative lawyer, and I don't blame the lawyers, they're always looking for cracks in some of these issues, basically argued that the woman at the time was not recreating. In fact, she was seeking to access an area to recreate. And furthermore, because the trail was improved and maintained, recreational immunity did not apply. The courts upheld that decision, and as a result, in 2024, a coalition of public bodies, associations, and interested parties advocated for a change to the recreational immunity statute, which we were successful in doing. However, the changes that they made in 2024 were only temporary. In fact, they sunsetted those provisions to January 1 of 2026, thereby forcing us to revisit this issue during the 2025 session. Senate Bill 179 did just that. And what it essentially did was it made permanent the temporary changes that we were able to pass in 2024. And what were those changes? Well, among other things, we included walking, biking, jogging, running as explicit activities that are considered to be recreational. We also modified the statute to eliminate quote unquote intent. Remember, as I said earlier, the woman claimed at the time that she was not recreating, rather, she was walking to the point where she would, in fact, recreate. So, including the word walking covers this issue of intent, right? So, if you're walking through a park and you're going to the shopping center, you could have, prior to this bill, said, oh, I wasn't recreating, I was going to go shopping at the mall, which would have opened a public body up to potential litigation. Now that we've included the active words of walking, running, biking, and other types of activities, those that intent is kind of removed from the statute, although I'm sure attorneys will find some other holes in the dike, so to speak. Furthermore, we included improved trails. So again, we all agree on recreational immunity. It's still subjective. There's still going to be probably future litigation surrounding this very important statute, but we believe for the time being, we've done a pretty good job shoring up and uh, plugging the dike, if you will, excuse my language. I will also share with you that SDAO has hired outside counsel to review another part of the statute. We'll be sharing with all of our members a legal analysis and a model resolution to actively uh, uh, enter into a new type of liability immunity that wasn't available to special districts prior to 2024. So with that, Bob, I hope that covered that particular issue, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions that the commission may have.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mark, thank you so much. That was very in-depth and really interesting. But on a more personal level, I guess I would say, the Port of Columbia County specifically and Columbia County in general needs to be better known at the state legislature. How can you help us accomplish that?
Well, Commissioner, it's interesting that you asked that, and this is a question that's often asked by many of your additional ports. One of the things that I always share with the ports is you are your own best advocate. And as you know, the Oregon Public Ports Association represents all 23 public ports in the state of Oregon. And I would share with you, many of the ports have their own individual lobbyists as well. I won't run through all the individual ports that have their own particular lobbyists. But Madam Commissioner, to be very honest, my job as the executive director of the Oregon Public Ports Association is to represent all 23 ports rather than individual ports. However, having said that, again, I very much believe that each individual port is its own best advocate as well. And so I really recommend and share with our members that you're your own best advocate, number one. And number two, if you aren't actually getting to know and work with your local elected officials, you're simply handicapping yourself, particularly when there are tough issues that come before the legislature, and we need legislators representing those public ports to be on our side. Having said that, I do provide opportunities for the ports to meet with individual legislators. And for example, we always have a ports day at the Capitol during the long legislative session. And I also encourage ports to come down and meet with their legislators during the session to remind them of the priorities of not only the association, but the individual ports themselves. I hope that helps somewhat in addressing your question. I'm a lobbyist. I'm a professional lobbyist, so I didn't answer your question directly, which is what a trained professional lobbyist is supposed to do. In all seriousness, though, I really do believe that each individual port is their own best advocate, and really do believe that some time and effort needs to be put into developing those relationships with their individual members.
Oh, very good answer. Thank you so much. I think from our perspective, just the word lobbyist sounds very daunting. And I don't think any of us elected officials consider ourselves capable of being lobbyists, but maybe we can learn.
Oh, well, at SDAO, we have a very robust legislative advocacy site on our website that provides a whole bunch of information on how to communicate with your legislators, things that you can do. I often believe that inviting your local legislative members to an occasional commission meeting, tours, things of that nature are really, really important. Whenever a new development has been completed, invite them to cut the ribbon with you. These are things that you have to think about, but developing those relationships and getting them in front of the commission, showing them around. One of my favorite things I got to do recently was catch a ship coming down the river full of wheat because the bar was closed, and I got to be on a tugboat that caught the ship coming down, and we parked it at Longview. These are the kind of things that create lasting memories, right? And I truly believe that exposing your members to the types of work that you do is critically important for them to understand not only what you do, but your needs as well.
Well said. Thank you so much, Mark.
My pleasure.
Any other questions? Okay.
I guess that's it. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Well, I get to go and spend 3.5 hours in a water rulemaking advisory committee. So this was truly the highlight of my day. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. And please let me know if I can participate again. I'd be more than pleased to. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Mark.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, moving forward, Elliot, would you like to handle this next section? Is Katie on hot? Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. This morning, I would like to describe to you an intergovernmental agreement that we are currently negotiating with DEQ to start the first phase of cleaning up the Pope and Talbot site. The document is still being negotiated, but we hope to agree on terms and present a final agreement to you at the December 19th Port Commission meeting. Katie Dougherty, who you have met before, is DEQ's project manager for this site. And Katie is attending the meeting online and is available to help me address your questions or concerns. Slide. The purpose of the IGA is to define the port and DEQ's respective roles through the remedial design and remedial action or implementation of the first phase of the cleanup. Under the terms of the agreement, DEQ will oversee its contractors, the project design, and its implementation. The advantage of this arrangement is that the port will not have to divert its resources to manage the first phase of the cleanup. There is a trade-off, and that is that the port will have little control of the project design and implementation. However, the specific project itself will be mutually agreed. Slide. Under this agreement, the project will be funded in the first instance by the port's insurance with Liberty Mutual, which is about $3.2 million. I want to be clear that this is not the same insurance policies that we settled last year with Great American for just under $2.5 million. Those funds are excluded from the IGA with the intention of using them for future grant matches. DEQ's expenses and those of their contractors that are not paid by the insurance company will be paid by DEQ's orphan site account. Next slide. This slide shows the anticipated movement of invoices and payments. The top line shows the invoice process. DEQ will send their invoices and their contractors' invoices to the port. I should mention that DEQ's invoices will include DEQ's overhead charge, which is roughly 21% of the hourly rate of their direct time. DEQ will not mark up their third-party invoices, in other words, those of their contractors. The port will send the invoices along with any of its own to the insurance company for reimbursement. Examples of port invoices will be those of staff time and for its consultant. Second line shows the movement of money. The insurance company will send funds to the port. The port will in turn send the money to DEQ. By sending money to DEQ, I mean the money that is related to DEQ and DEQ contractors. DEQ will then use the insurance reimbursements plus money from its orphan site funds to pay its contractors. The port will retain insurance reimbursements related to its invoices. I want to highlight that the port's financial responsibility for this phase of the cleanup will be limited to the insurance reimbursement. Next slide. Why are we doing this? Firstly, entering into this agreement with DEQ will enable us to begin cleaning up the Pope and Talbot site, while at the same time limiting the port's financial exposure. As I mentioned earlier, DEQ managing the project will save the port's resources so that we can focus on our economic mission while still addressing this issue. The agreement will also allow us to leverage approximately $2.5 million of orphan funds that will be available in stages over the next 3 fiscal years, which you can see here. It's $500,000 starting July 2026 and $1 million for the next 2 years after that. Pope and Talbot site is eligible for these funds because it was declared an orphan site in 2008 when DEQ found the port did not have the means to pay for the cleanup of the site. As an orphan site, the port is eligible for funding from the state's orphan site account for costs associated with investigation and remediation. Earlier this year, the port provided DEQ with updated financial information that shows the port is still not able to fund the cleanup of the Pope and Talbot site. Next slide. You may recall that this site has been divided into 5 priority action areas, and this slide is probably all too familiar to you. It depicts the 5 priority action areas plus Upland Area 2, which is a no further action area. So 4 of the 5 priority action areas are largely in the water and involve DSL land. Those are, you start on the left there and work our way around, Milton Creek, the Cove, Area 1 dock, and Area 2 dock. The 5th priority action area is the Upland Area 1, and that sits entirely on port property. So for the first phase, we want to focus on areas that involve port property while we address DSL's involvement within water priority action areas. Next slide. Of the 3 areas being considered for this first phase, 2 are contained in Upland Area 1. They are capping with asphalt or similar material, Upland Area 1, which you can see highlighted in green on this slide. The second is building a permeable reactive barrier, shown in light blue at the lower end of the cap. This barrier will capture creosote and stormwater that passes through it. And the third area is the riverbank in the cove, which I've marked with the red circle. In this area, the riverbank will be regraded above the mean high water mark, which is port-owned property. And this work will involve reducing the slope of the bank, disposing of the removed soil, and capping residual contaminants and adding riprap to the shoreline. Next slide. Here's an estimated timeline. Between December and January, DEQ's contractor will identify technical studies that will be required to finalize the project's design, and they will update the cost estimates included in the feasibility study, as those are now several years old. Once that work is done, DEQ and the port will consider the contractor's report and decide on the project. Over the spring and summer, the contractor will carry out their technical investigations, after which they will do the remedial design during the fall and winter of 2026, with the actual construction taking place following that. Port staff wanted to make you aware of the IGA discussions today, since it's a complicated issue, and our hope that by presenting it today in advance of the resolution itself, you'll be able to weigh in with any concerns as we work through the agreement. Do you have any questions?
My first question is, what does a technical investigation look like?
Katie, if you can hear us, you could probably give a better description than I can as a layman.
Well, it's going to vary depending on what the contractor identifies as data gaps for the engineers to actually do the design. We're kind of expecting it to be more geotechnical type of an investigation, and then maybe a little bit more data gathering that's specific to the engineer's needs to actually do the comprehensive design and then the procurement documents.
Thank you. If we have something.
And I understand from what you said, we're going to be involved in all of this, even though we are not the driver of this process.
Well, we'll have our representative, I imagine the geoengineers, to help get some input, but really it's going to be Q's decisions on how they implement. We will have stronger say in which of those 3 options are the ones that we most approve.
Yeah, so I want to clarify that, essentially what the IGA is doing is allowing us to take the bulk of the day-to-day effort off of the port's shoulders. The port is still going to be involved in reviewing the documents, providing feedback, having their owner's representative, geoengineers, presumably providing input, deciding which area they want to join. So I think what we're trying to do is provide the resources to do the work, but it has never been our intent to remove the port's voice from the process.
And Katie, can you clarify when do you think we will actually begin to start doing work? Would it be in 2027?
So the remedial design will be done probably in, next year, depending on what technical investigations are needed. And then you have to go through procurement for such a large project. So I would expect it to happen in 2027, but it also depends on what is selected. I mean, doing a paving job is a lot more straightforward to design than doing a permeable barrier wall. That's going to be more engineer design needs, and as well as a riverbank, and making sure we're hopefully staying out of any need for permits. So a lot of it's just going to be driven by which area we select. But I would say it is a good, reasonable expectation that we would be doing the work in 2027.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm
And-
currently doing a procurement action for the Armstrong site just upstream, and it's a process with Department of Administrative Services, and it's it takes time.
Well, yes, that is the hallmark of this project.
Yes. But we're there, and we're ready to start getting work, and then we'll start beating the drum, trying to get more funding allocated as we go, as DEQ requests more bonds for the orphan site project. So yeah, piecemeal, but we'll get there.
And our expert consultant, Kurt Harrington, is right here. as well
Yes,
from Geo.
yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Katie, I didn't come for this, but I'm not here to cause trouble. Hello.
Hey, no, Kurt's like the institutional memory on this project, and his insight and view is very welcome.
Yeah, we're very glad you're still with us. Yeah. Thank you.
Coincidence when I saw him walk in the door a few minutes.
Magnetic pole.
You hear the word Railroad Avenue and you just.
My car drove here automatically. I don't know why.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
I'm sorry.
Okay, the next discussion, Marine Planning Committee update. Lindsay? Is it with us briefly?
Welcome back. Good morning, commissioners. How are you?
Good morning.
So good meeting today. I wanted to provide you a quick update on the first meeting of the Marina Planning Committee held on November 3rd. The committee met to review the financial and operational challenges at the marina, including sediment infill, dredging limitations, and rising maintenance costs. The marina currently operates an annual loss of $550,000, as we know, and maintenance needs continue to grow. We, as a committee, reviewed the BST study to make sure everyone was on the same page and was familiarized with the study, had they not had time to do it on their own. So we did that. And the committee emphasized improving cost tracking to ensure marina expenses are clearly identified. That was one of the takeaways that we are working on. Let's see. We discussed dredging in detail, as you can imagine. While we have permission to dredge within the marina itself, and it's an expensive process due to the specialized equipment, we talked about that. Costs, as we know, average $270,000 to $500,000 per year on an ongoing basis. And that's the average because it's more of a 7 to 10 year endeavor. And remember, that's in addition to the $550,000 annual operating loss and the maintenance needs on top of that. So we discussed that in detail. We're not currently permitted to dredge the adjacent channel. We talked a lot about that because the port doesn't lease that water from DSL. And also it has contaminated sediment at the bottom. And Paul Langner was here and helped us with understanding, how that increases the cost and why. There was enthusiasm, however, amongst committee members to exhaust all options through diligent research to potentially find an outlying solution. We also reviewed the need for around $4.7 million in maintenance repairs for docks, walkways, gangways, and all of the supporting infrastructure. And we noted that the Oregon State Marine Board will assist with some public access improvements, but most of the structural work requires significant port or external funding. And looking ahead, the committee is exploring long-term options, including alternative locations for motorized, should we need to go that route, potential cost sharing with partner agencies, grant opportunities, and we are internally discussing, as we noted in the meeting, the need to send an update to all mortgage tenants on our ongoing discussions about dredging and what that means for them. Our next meeting is scheduled for this coming Monday, but there's talk about potentially bumping it up a week to hit before Thanksgiving and give us a little more time internally. So I'll reach out to the committee members individually to talk about that today. And let's see, we will go through this next meeting before we consider bringing to the commission shaping recommendations for your review. Thank you very much.
Any comments or questions?
Comments, questions?
No, good job. I listened in. It was a good meeting.
It was. Okay, next we have resolution 2025-29. AC.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Metasoft is online. The Port of Columbia County maintains a volunteer advisory committee for the Scappoose Airport. Advisory committees may make recommendations but have no legal authority, and responsibilities are assigned at the direction of the executive director or the Port Commission. The committee currently has one vacancy. Noah Matasoff submitted an application reviewed at the September 29th, 2025 meeting. Mr. Matasoff is a pilot, a flight instructor, and founder of Intercept Aviation with leadership experience at Intuit, Meta, at Microsoft. He currently manages instructors and mechanics at Scappoose Airport and brings expertise in regulation, technology adoption, and aviation marketing. If appointed, Mr. Matasoff would serve 3-year term through November 2028. Staff recommends approval of Resolution 2025-29, the appointment of Mr. Matasoff to the advisory committee, and he is online. There it is. Good morning.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, thanks, Lacey.
You're welcome.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Noah, and what brings you to want to be a part of this organization.
Yeah, Lacey kind of covered most of it. I run and found Intercept Aviation. I'm a passionate pilot, flight instructor, love aviation, and I'm very involved in the community in the Pacific Northwest. I'm at the airport, 4 or 5 days a week, and want to do whatever I can to grow interest and growth and safety at the airport. So those are my goals, and love to see the airport grow.
And of course, you know that we've got this closure that's coming up next year. Love to have your input on that and hoping you can help us figure out how we can reduce the stress in that time period.
Yeah, absolutely.
Move to adopt resolution 2025-29.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Noah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Noah.
Thank you. And I think, Lacey, you're.
I'm sticking around. I'm going to give you a runway rehabilitation update and an airport update. On October 20th, the port hosted a runway rehab meeting regarding the mitigation options that Century West provided us. In attendance was the majority of their commercial tenants, several airport advisory members, and the purpose was to review the 3 construction mitigation options and associated costs, followed by a Q&A focused primarily on tenant value and economic impact. The dominant theme was concern regarding business viability during the closure. The overall recap we received, or feedback we received from our commercial tenants, specifically American Jet, expressed that, I'm going to back up just a second. The mitigation option that was presented in that meeting was a displaced threshold. So building a 3,600-foot runway on the north end while the southern 800 feet was closed for a full reconstruction. So American Jet Center expressed that a 4,000 or 3,600 foot runway had no value for them, and they just want to get the job done. AirSense Avionics and Overall Aircraft support the 90-day closure as most efficient, and also have no ability to cost share in this process. Transwestern share, I followed up with them and shared a phone call with John Helm, who is still very interested in alternative mitigation options. Intercept, NOAA, shared that he's temporarily planning on moving his business during whatever closure we decide to do. Sportcopter Oregon Aero will not be impacted. Their rotorcraft or development and products. So Columbia Aviation did not attend. I've made a few attempts to follow up and have not made contact with Columbia Aviation, and I'll follow up again later. But the conclusion was tenants with the most acute financial risk have limited to zero capacity to help cost share in the cost of any mitigation process. And rapid execution of the project is preferred, of course. So following that meeting, Century West Engineering and I met, and we reached out to Western United Group, who's the contractor on this project, for further investigation into mitigation options. And they worked with the contractor to create a mitigation closure options and accelerate. So this time, instead of a displaced threshold, which is what we had been talking about previously, we looked at just a shorter timeline. So full closure with 3 options. And I think Krista has this was received last night, these numbers. So Western United Civil Group is our contractor, and they developed these options. So this is a full closure with no displaced threshold for a 30-day schedule, working 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. They're looking at a price tag of $554,655. This does not include what our fee from Century West Engineering would be. This is a 24-hour schedule for 30-day closure.
Right.
The 50-day schedule is for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then obviously, if we stick with the 90-day schedule, it is $0 to us, additional funds. And then I put the project start date, this is June 8th, estimated. As I said, I just got these numbers last night.
That difference between the 30 and 50 days.
I haven't had a chance to talk with Pete yet about what that.
Right. Yeah, if you can follow
I
up.
will follow up, of course.
Yeah.
So those are some of our options. Western Civil United Group has told us that they are not willing to work during construction when the field is open. So the mitigated or displaced threshold for them is a safety issue. As we know, it's a safety issue. It's the FAA's number one, sticking point is safety of everybody on the field. And they are not comfortable with being on the field while there are planes landing and taking off. Completely respect that. So the displaced threshold looks like it is off the table. Again, I got these numbers last night. So I need to have a follow-up conversation with Pete, but I did want to present them because I didn't know if we weren't going to meet on.
Right.
So one of the other questions that you had asked, Nancy, was what income are we getting from at the airport right now, what revenue, and the breakdown. You can go to the next slide, Krista, please. This is our breakdown of our revenue for FY25. Also, one of the questions that I think I've received from the commission is, have other airports done rent mitigation or abatement relief? I reached out to Kelso. They do not. They have never, and they have also a closure coming up in 26, and they will not be. Pearson, which is in Vancouver, they also did not. And Hillsborough is a unique situation. They have 3 runways, so they're not apples to apples. So they also have, yeah, it's not the same. So I did speak to them though, and let me think of any of the other questions that you've presented. I think that's everything that you've asked specifically.
Well, I'm really interested in the fact that Intercept has found another place to go.
I spoke with Noah and he said they're going to do, he didn't get into the weeds with me on how they would be, right, if they would be doing tie downs or if they found hangar space in other, if it's one hangar that they'll be taking over or if it will be within, I don't know if he's still here, if it will be multiple. He did not share that information, but he will be temporarily. Are you there, Noah?
Yeah, I'm here. We haven't figured out the details yet, but it'll most likely be a Hillsborough or Troutdale. We're discussing options with the Port of Portland right now. It'll most likely the aircraft will be outside and we'll have some small hangar space for maintenance needs, but it would be an existential threat to the business to shut down for 90 days. So we have to find somewhere else to operate.
Yes. Yes, and I'm assuming American Jet will be doing the same thing. And is there any way we can help people find another place? Noah, you'd be, I think, now that you're in the middle of it, is there anything we can do to help you with this?
As of now, I don't think there's anything that we need to get support. But if I've been talking with Julia Weisenbach at the Port of Portland, and if any other tenants need support. If there's any relationship with the Port of Portland or with her to assist, then that might be helpful for folks.
Great, thank you.
So that's where we are with the runway mitigation. As of now, I like I said, I'll follow up with the Century West and report back at our airport advisory meeting, which is the 24th. Right, so we'll have more details regarding the 30-day or 50-day mitigated closure and what we can do. And honestly, if it's affordable, anyway.
We win the lottery.
I know. Okay, moving on. Well, is there any other questions regarding the runway rehab? Moving on. So in September, we received a notification from the DEQ regarding our stormwater discharge permit. It's a 1200 Z permit. It's a statewide industrial stormwater discharge permit required under the Clean Water Act and is administered by Oregon DEQ. Airports are included due to the activities like fueling, maintenance, equipment operations that can introduce pollutants into runoff. The permit has been in effect for decades. It requires stormwater sampling, best management practices, annual reporting, and up-to-date storm pollution control plan. Compliance ensures the airport meets state and federal water quality standards and continues to operate responsibly. I'm not sure how we slipped through the cracks. I don't know if that matters at this point. For decades, slipped through the cracks. However, it is our job to comply, and that's what we're doing. I reached out to 4 different engineering firms, Geoengineers, Century West, Lower Columbia, and Aquarius Environmental for scope and fee. Received them back the end of last week. We are evaluating them. Geoengineer came out to represent. Again, we have no further decision at this point, but they would be excellent experts in asking any kind of information about this project that we are now doing. One more point, this will cost us anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 to get the plan in place, additional $3,000 permit plus staff time to manage it. So, yay, I know. Do you guys have any questions for me or for geoengineers about it? Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
It's pretty straightforward. These permits are very straightforward. I have no other information. At this point.
I mean, if I just interject, why maybe it's.
Why don't you step up? Yeah.
Why the port maybe slipped through the cracks, I don't know. I'm here with Sam and Parker, two colleagues that specialize more in stormwater compliance than I do. I'm more, as you know, a cleanup person, but the 1200Z, the letter from DEQ said the port may need to be covered under the permit. And so I think I don't know what the other proposals look like, but a key part of our scope of work is to see if the port's industrial areas truly discharge into surface water bodies. I don't know the airport. I don't know the drainage system out there. Lacey gave us what she could on it, but our first scope was to see, is the permit applicable to the facility? So I think that's a really important step. As DEQ is revised the permit, they're using the stormwater permit to introduce emerging contaminants like PFAS, if you're familiar with that acronym. Airports are, on that list, and under this new permit that will come out, Parker.
There will be the renewal requirement, and then it'll be in June.
June of next year, the current permit sunsets, the new permit goes into effect July. And under that new permit, certain facilities like airports will have to sample for PFAS for reporting purposes only. It's a bit of a, search, if you will, data collection by the state to see if, properties that may have handled, foam firefighting, for instance, have issues on their property with this particular contaminant. So, I'm not saying, we want to avoid getting under the permit or anything like that, but we want to make darn sure that the facility needs to be covered. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's interesting. Keep us posted.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarification.
Oh, you saw the Marina one.
Thank you.
They're out of here.
Thank you all. Lignetics. Good to see you.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Neighbor.
Been here for a few months. Scrubber project is continuing. I mean, it's operational. We were not able to do our testing because the testing company didn't have the right size equipment to fit our test port. So we're reviewing other contractors now that can test. But it is operating. We are moving forward with the backhouse project for next calendar year. So within this fiscal year for us, it'll involve relocating equipment from other sites to Columbia City to close the rest of the plant. And with that, the new baghouse is going to have about 4 times the capacity of our existing equipment. So we'll be able to enclose more of the internal parts of the plant to isolate dust and keep it from escaping out into the air. We're looking forward to that. And there's benefits to Lignetics too, because then we'll have 3 identical systems within the 3 plants in Oregon. So there's commonality of parts and servicing on that as well. So we're working through the specs on that, and eventually it's a lot bigger. So we're going to have to put it in a different location, and we're trying to minimize our downtime for that too. So we would install the new baghouse and then convert all the systems over to that once it's in play. What else we have? The transformer project. We're trying to wrap up the gear portion of that project. So we have to add some switch gear to our side of the transformer to handle the new capacity. Any other questions, comments, concerns? We anticipate the back house will be completed sometime in the spring. So hopefully before the next nice weather season when the winds change again, so. And additionally, we've implemented other cleaning schedules within the plant, and we're investigating bringing in a vac truck to help clean out on the mill as well, so. We have an area where we store carryover material. We just want to vacuum it out instead of having people go out there, jump it out and load it into loaders and all the way.
So we've been at the last community meeting, we talked about the possibility, or not the possibility, the need to do an assessment in the community of gathering samples. Where do we stand? Have we moved forward on that?
Lignetics has not moved forward on that. We're open to that. And we agree with Jan's comments from the last meeting that it should be done in the summer months when it has the biggest impact on everybody. It wouldn't gain anybody anything to do it right now.
Yeah, no sense in doing it now, but now's when we need to get it planned. And do you know where we stand?
My understanding is that Sean has reached out to several contractors to understand the scope of work and help them shape the scope of work so that we're prepared to execute on some kind of an agreement at the right time in the season.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
I think the commission also had a discussion last month about what level of DEQ monitoring happens on a regular basis.
Yes.
That was something that I recall you were talking about. I don't know if you wanted to inquire further of that or.
Well, I think that's part of the process, that hopefully that we're looking at, because to me, DEQ should be the one gathering the samples. But if they're not going to do that, then we need to step up to the plate. I assume that's part of the investigation that we're doing.
And getting the samples at the right time.
And getting the samples at the right time. Yeah, this is your time of the year. We don't have to worry too much. Yeah, which I'm sure is a relief for all of us. Right?
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And next is a discussion of the Marina.
Yes. Good morning, commissioners. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sir. My name is Jennifer Massey, and I proudly serve for almost 5 years now on the Scappoose Bay Marine Park Advisory Committee. And so I'm here to give you an update on our last meeting that we had on November 4th. So you are off the hook, Commissioner Fawcett. I am here in person giving it. So the advisory committee we met on the 4th here at the port office. The meeting focused on the updates related to the marina operations, infrastructure needs, new business transitions, and ongoing planning efforts. So business transition, we discussed the fact that really exciting news that the previous owners for Next Adventure successfully transitioned operations to the new local owners, Cody, James, and Bree. Super excited to have them. They're going to operate under the new name Paddle Shack. So go check them out down there and participate in their business. Cody's also going to assist with the RV park reservations and general public inquiries. And the committee would really like to have him attend some of the future meetings. By the way, also, these meeting notes and recap are to the best of my recollection. So if they need to be rehabilitated at all, I suggest you actually look at the meeting minutes. We also talked about moorage license revisions. So staff are updating the moorage licensing agreements for modernization. So the distribution is going to be planned for 2026, I think around end of January 2026. The discussion included also the responsibilities for maintaining the water areas around the boathouses, otherwise known as our water gardens, and floating homes, ensuring vessels also remain seaworthy and are in good condition, and clarifying potential enforcement actions. Unfortunately, you need to have those if there's non-compliance, if people are not keeping up on their water gardens. Dock security and maintenance, we covered that. The new access cards are going to be issued to the tenants to enhance security. Several infrastructure repairs are planned and underway. So we have replacement of joists for deck boards on E-dock and repair of D-dock fingers, sewer maintenance and new decking for the floating restroom, additional fire extinguishers, so making sure that they are placed where they need to so that we can ensure that they're meeting the spacing requirements. Full replacement of the B dock and rewiring of the dock gates. Also, keeping with the theme, we talked about the funding challenges and also basically the priority, how they're being addressed. So making sure that the focus for the funds that are available to be used, focus on safety, affordability, and then also looking at grant options. Any questions so far? All right, cruising. ADA platform and in-water projects. So the ADA platform was purchased through Travel Oregon and OSMB grants is ready actually for the installation pending permit approval. So hopefully that we can get that down there because that's going to allow a different opportunity for a lot of people that can't actually, partake in those water adventures at this point. Future projects include kayak staging, ramp improvements, and new gangway for dock sections. The Marina Planning Committee, Lindsay touched on that, but we did talk about it just a bit because it got brought up with our committee members. So the newly formed committee met for the first time to establish the goals, review marina conditions, and begin a long-term strategic plan. There's also talked about, I believe Willa brought it up, or Willa, for the Travel Oregon Recreational Ready Grant application for up to $100,000. So that was submitted to support consultant services and develop an action plan. So any grant opportunities are always exciting. And then it was discussed about the meetings being held bi-weekly, but as Lindsay mentioned, I think that it might change just a bit because there was a lot of information that was discussed and it's easier to come back with more information and research to help people make more educated decisions. Other updates. The port continues to pursue grant-funded improvements at Port Westward. When I say other updates, these are just questions that advisory committee members and or individuals that were participating from a public standpoint just brought up. So a question came up about the port that it continues to pursue grant-funded improvements at Port Westward, including seismic upgrades. Consideration is underway for establishing a volunteer list for winter response, which is always important down there on the marina because once it starts snowing, it's mayhem. And so getting that list ready to go. Also, possibly adding a Bayport RV park host. And beginning in 2026, the port will implement required electrical testing in water and consider posting electrical shock drowning warnings. So I think that's a really important thing for safety. And so we'll want to probably, or you all want to communicate about that. Also, acknowledgements. It was overwhelming acknowledgements for Marshall. Simmons down at the marina. His public engagement and the way that he just takes care of the marina down there is it's phenomenal. And so we always like to give kudos to him and making sure that he has proper winter gloves for when it does snow. It's a big deal because he was down there. I don't know how he didn't have hypothermia many years ago. Also, from somebody on a personal, somebody that sits on almost a dozen committees of just various different types of things, I have to commend personally Miriam House and Elizabeth Milliger. We don't also have a lot of time. A lot of us have our real lives and jobs that go along with it. But every time we come to one of the advisory meetings, they have all the information that we need. They get any information that we need. And so it just really feels like there's a lot of value to those committees because we never feel like we have wasted calories by sitting there. And that is very much appreciated for those that really want to participate but don't have a lot of time. So I did want to commend them. And then also, just to point out that our advisory committee members, let me give a shout out to them too, because the actual group that we have is very solid, very cohesive. Everybody engages in meaningful dialogue. We don't always agree, especially when it comes to fees and things like that. But we definitely spent a lot of time working through that, brainstorming, coming up with ideas, weighing the pros and cons. And so I did want to give a shout out to the rest of the committee members because I really think that is a very fully functioning meeting in committee. And we don't get a lot of public engagement too when we have those. So I encourage people to chime in and, to see what we have going on. And the last thing I have is that the next committee meeting is scheduled for January 6, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. What do you guys got for me?
That was comprehensive.
All right. You're off the hook.
Yeah. nailed it.
That's great. Very good.
All right, well, it is a phenomenal committee, and again, everybody involved does a great job. And I mean, Commissioner and Commissioner Fawcett, it is appreciative that you guys are there too, because you're able to answer any questions and make sure that we also don't go off the rails on some of our brainstorming ideas. But everybody is committed to the success of the marina and the port in general. So we appreciate your guys' effort. Anything else?
Thank you for coming.
And the next time, can we be on the review?
Next, executive director report.
Yes, okay, so thank you very much, commissioners. I'm filling in today for Sean Clark. I'm happy to be here. So I'll start with a few port-wide updates, pulling from the department reports that you received last week. One of the key ones was that we were able to file for that extension for the fiscal year 2025 audit. So that was successfully filed. As you know, that was due to some personnel leave that we had unexpectedly. And then also combined with the, try not to take deep offense.
To the mass exodus.
Yeah, wow. The general lack of the availability of public auditors. So when we were ready to execute, they were our typical auditors that we work with were so busy that we had to file for an extension. So that is underway. In lighter news, we had a new historical marker installed at the Scappoose Bay Marina. This was designed and built by a PCC intern, I believe, last summer. Two summers ago. But it finally got installed, and there was a little ceremony that was held with some great attendees, and a couple of staff members went. So please go and check that out. We have well, obviously you heard a lot of different updates from staff. There's a lot of various things going on. If you have any specific questions from the department reports, please let me know. But Elliot, Lacey, Lindsay, the ops team, there's a lot going on. Vessel wise.
Did you guys get the department reports?
I was just going to say, I don't remember seeing the department report. Yeah.
What a surprise. Okay, well, you don't, I'll make sure that it gets sent out then after this meeting.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, so well, then with that, I'll go over, I was going to say, well, you already know the vessel numbers because you saw them in the report, but we had since July 1st of 2025, we've had 7 vessels loaded, 914,000 barrels of renewable diesel loaded, and just shy of $200,000 worth of dockage and mortgage at Port Westward. And the latest vessel was the Overseas Houston, which sailed on October 20th, 2025. And we don't have a schedule for the next expected vessel.
I thought they were switching to ethanol.
That I'll let, yeah. Do you want to step forward if you have, yeah, extended?
Yes, so the renewable diesel agreement will switch over at the end of this year. They'll do the last of the RD vessels. They have to do changeover work, which means going to be pipelines. So probably be March, April.
Okay.
And that's all. Okay. And it won't be the same volumes initially. It'll ramp up over time, over the course of 2026.
Oh, okay. We won't have as many stoppages at the railroad crossings.
Well, hopefully not. There's a trade-off there.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Elliot. Hopefully you all saw the social media post about the new tenant that we have at Milton Way. We have that little 0.7 acre fence lot. So Reclaim Creations is settling in there. I believe they're installing the sign this week. Currently it will be a storage space for their live edge slabs. They make custom furniture for folks. Really nice Warren based company that was a home occupation, and they've just grown and needed actual space. So yeah, it was great. They were great to work with. And eventually the goal will be that he actually moves his milling operation to that space as well. But that has a bit more involved in it than the storage element. So that's going to take a little bit longer working with the city of St. Helens, but I'm confident that will happen soon and we'll keep you guys updated. Kind of more on my schedule. I'll be attending a Foley Welch management training this Friday for most of the day. So I'm looking forward to that. They're a fantastic HR firm. And I've been taking on more HR duties over the last year or so. The city county dinner is this evening in Rainier. Looking forward to attending that. I am in the works with several leases at the airport, including moving Intercept Aviation off of a license agreement into a longer term lease. Yep, that'll be great. And then also for the what we call the Chinook hangar, the 34100 Skyway hangar, the 12,000 square foot one. So that's in the works. I also participated in the Columbia River PUD budget committee just like 2.5 weeks ago. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out because the process was really, really smooth and nice. And I took a lot of notes. I passed a lot of the materials that were handed out to Guy. I'm going to make an introduction to their finance manager and Guy so that they can, compare notes and, hopefully include some of those different elements that I saw in their process into our process because it was a really well-run machine. So with that, do you guys have any questions? I will make sure that the department reports get sent out today. Sorry about that.
No questions.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Commissioner reports.
Yeah, so I attended the installation of the plaque, which was very sweet, and so did Ralph. It was nice to see people from the public joining us in that. It's really quite, it may seem like a little thing, but it's really very sweet and very well done. And I hope this kind of thing continues to, we continue to collaborate with PCC in helping with whatever projects they're currently involved in. I'm a member of the Scappoose Economic Development Committee, and they're very interested / concerned about the airport closure. And so I'm hoping, we keep them up to date and include them with everything that's going on. And yeah, I mean, the closer it comes, when it was, 2 years ago, it seemed like, oh yeah, well, we'll have plenty of time to deal with that. And, now it's on top of us. And there's just seems to be no way around this as much as we all want it. And even if we could afford it, it seems there's no chance of this not really impacting. And I'm very hopeful that our commercial tenants can find an opportunity outside of our location to help them through the crunch, and anything we can do. Obviously, I know you're more than willing, but that's so important because 90 days is a long time.
Yeah.
And I am going to the city county dinner, looking forward to that also.
I'm also hoping to attend the city county dinner.
Oh, yay.
In addition, hopefully Scott's all right with that. I don't have much else to add. I did notice on the agenda that our December meeting looks like it's pushed back a week. Is that correct?
Oh, it is?
So I just want to point that out. It might be a little tough for me. Third Wednesdays are always difficult, but yeah, just kind of want to highlight.
We set that at the beginning of the year because of Christmas and
New
Year's and everything.
Yep. But nothing else.
My work has been all about the Marina, the meetings there, which have been very good. They really have been very full of detail, good thought. And hopefully some good options will come out of this.
And if I can just interject with a question, I love this idea of having a host at the RV park. Is that something we're seriously looking into?
Well, yeah, it was definitely talked about as, yes, maybe.
Yeah.
There's lots.
Don't be so definitive.
There's lots to figure out.
Yeah.
I can have Miriam give an update at the next commission meeting on the progress of looking into that.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a really good answer and relieve some of the pressure from, Yeah, Marshall, yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, I think we are going into executive session.
Would you like me to read the script?
Yes, I would
Oh,
like
can
that.
hardly wait.
Please.
Watch now watch people,
I know.
now watch the exodus.
Now everybody.
Board of Columbia County will now meet in executive session pursuant to OR 26602F. Consider exempt public records, including written legal advice from Port General Counsel, which is privileged and exempt from disclosure. Representatives of the news media and designated staff are allowed to attend. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on the discussions or deliberations in this or any executive session at the Port. Port Commission will return to open session after the executive session, and we do not expect to announce any decisions as a result of the discussions held in executive session. Any persons excluded from executive session are welcome to return to open session when it is resumed. Thank you.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah.
Chip.